Aloha, everyone. Welcome to Java. Thank you again for joining me. This is for Monday. It's October 9th, 2023, and it's Columbus Day in the United States. And I would like to wish our friends in Canada a happy Thanksgiving, although markets are open today, so they will be trading. So we're looking at our favorite risk indicator. It is elevated again, although it came down quite a bit after this war news, so to speak, and the oil spikes. We'll talk a little bit more about this. So the major elements in this, we are watching the dollar strength, which has jumped in this flight to safety, and the 10-year yield as well, because a lot of people go into what they think are safe assets, and bonds are one of those. So as people put their money in, it brings the yields down. So we've got that happening. And then also, of course, since this is happening in the Middle East, we've got a spike in oil. But as we were speaking about yesterday, this is kind of a knee-jerk reaction. And you may or may not get the opportunity to trade this if you're not in the pre-market, and with some of these other stocks, you may not be able to, because it's going to happen rather quickly. I do expect that there will be thin trading today in light of it being a holiday. And when it's lighter volume, it tends to be larger moves because it's less people trading. So the moves are much more rapid on lighter volume. So watch out for that. I do expect extremely volatile day to begin with, and then probably just some chop after that. We'll see what happens. I've got a few more things that I'd like to bring you. The yield curve is uninverting. Okay, and how it does this, kind of like the same thing with the banks imploding, if it does so in a slower fashion, because this is the beginning marker of what we're going to be expecting for this incoming recession. If it follows historically, when the yield curve uninverts is when the recession/depression begins. So we'll keep an eye on that. For the calendar today, it's relatively light. We don't have any reports or anything like that. We do have a couple of Fed presidents speaking. And since it is some holidays we were talking about, we're still going to be watching forward this week as Citigroup, JP Morgan, Chase, BlackRock, and Wells Fargo are set to report. So keeping an eye forward on that. That's one other thing I would like to mention. With this war news, there are war stocks, so to speak. They are the ones that create or maintain military equipment, namely Raytheon, General Dynamics, and EDS, and then also Boeing as well, if you weren't aware. And Congress, the members of United States Congress, were buying these stocks last week. And I just want to ask, were you? So, and just to bring in, somebody always knows early. And it's usually not going to be us, but you'll see that those stocks did have a rise prior to this news. And yeah, that's rather interesting. So, on with the oil stories. Oil is going to jump, and then stocks will drop initially on this news of the war, something that you can trade. I do expect oil will pull back after this in the correction, but in the longer term, because of all of everything going on, it's expected to continue its rise after this, which will increase inflation in the longer term. So volatility today, and then we'll see what happens after this. I could be wrong, not financial advice, but that's kind of what we're seeing looking forward. So, along with oil, we've got Russia resuming their oil exports. These are large numbers of exports, and this particular BRICS partner is Brazil. So, just want to keep an eye on these alliances and keep you up to date on what's going on with that. So, there was another suspected pipeline leak in the Baltic Sea. This time, it was the connection between Finland and Estonia. So they detected a drop in pressure, severe drop in pressure. And so they're suspecting this leak and they're kind of shutting it down before anything happens. So on to our news regarding banks. There's still a lot of trouble in these banks. There's still quite a few that need to either be merged, simply shut down, or will be bought by the larger banks. So we've got rising corporate bankruptcies because this wave has only begun, and personal debt defaults. So these are causing more headwinds for the economy. We've also got with this other one, the higher rates still on the long term, have banks losing money every day, basically. Every month, they have to pay higher interest loans than what they are collecting. And it's namely Bank of America is one of the weakest due to this. So, and then we had another story talking about the coming collapse of the US banking system, but we've already spoken about this and why. And so this chart has been going around, and it's showing the interest in the bank's rate issues. So basically, it's their unrealized losses because of all of the money they've put into these loans. They're not making money on them, but they're having to pay higher interest on those again. But this kind of shows the scale of the issue. It's pretty much unprecedented. So this will have to unwind, and it all depends how. If they can unwind it slowly, it'll take years. But if it happens in rapid fashion, that's going to could be systemic risk and really get things going. So on the war, of course, we've got Israel, and the Pentagon, US Pentagon, is sending the naval armada in support of Israel. So not unexpected, no longer supporting Ukraine. There was a lot of issues with that. They saw the corruption. So now we're just going to start funding Israel because we need to continue to inflate and keep sending this money and printing money that we really don't have as the United States, but that will continue the debt game. And this is another side of this. Israel's central bank sent $30 billion in foreign reserves after their shekel slid. So basically, they're repatriating their currency. They've got a liquidity crisis going on, and this process is to kind of fill back in that liquidity, at least short term. So we've got other problems within this. With that speaker issue voting out McCarthy last week, Moody's has threatened the downgrade. And so unless they fix this in the next day or two, which they're saying that they should very soon, Moody's will downgrade the US credit again. That will cause another hit to the stock market. So look out for that. If you hear of that going on, you know immediately the direction it's going to take, at least short term. So seeing this also, we always look to history and what's going on elsewhere. There's pressure on Egypt's economy. They just got downgraded. So their market's taking a hit. They're not as strong as the US economy, obviously, and don't have the reserve currency. So they're kind of a smaller scale harbinger of what's going to happen if this does indeed occur. So I've got a couple of lava updates I would like to show you. The first one is this picture. So this is Times Square in downtown New York, and I thought it was a bit ironic because this just shows what's going on. So here we've got Israeli flags, and on this side, if you will, of the street, supporters of Israel. In the center, we have this electronic, this happened to be United States flag, and on the other side, you've got people supporting Palestinians. And this just goes to show how they are dividing us with this. People divided can more easily be controlled. And so I think it's something to kind of keep an eye on. There's not necessarily a side here. The terrorism and some of the acts are not necessarily of the country. So just keep that in mind as a possibility if you would. The other part is this whole disease X thing. So now we've got scientists warning of a silent pandemic stirring across the globe. And basically what they're getting at with this is that by taking so many antibiotics, that all of these new strains of bacteria are becoming immune to it, so that antibiotics will no longer work. So just a little bit more kind of preparing for that story to come out. So with that, if you haven't hit the like button yet, if you would, please, would be greatly appreciated. I appreciate you all for being here. With that, I wish you a green trading day, just a wonderful day in general. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.